Welcome to this episode of YouTube where we did have a little diagnosis issues last week, and apologize that I did not get to the YouTube last week. I may have mentioned in the wolf logs that Denali wasn't feeling very well, and so question is, how do you know when a wolf doesn't feel very well? And that's our job, to watch wolves, and that's why we do programs called Wolf Watch and webinars, and it's up to us as a daily basis to get a sense of how a wolf is feeling. And so they don't just come right out and say, I don't feel very well, but you look at their attitude, you look at their interactions, and you look at, how are they normally interacting with in the pack structure. And then on a day like this, Denali just did not feel well. And you could kind of tell Aiden's doing a little sniffing, a little investigation, and definitely Denali's ears are in a little bit of a sideward posture that's sometimes indicates that animals are a little intimidated, but in some cases also makes is a posture that we sometimes see when they're not feeling very well. So you look for those little subtle things. You watch every day, and every day you see these wolves, and you get a sense of who's interacting with who. And then obviously there were some issues. He did have a little regurgitation that sometimes can happen with wolves, because they eat a wide variety of things, and something doesn't sit right with them. So obviously you have to know what the norms are. So when I look at Luna rolling on her back, I mean, that's kind of a Luna thing. She likes to scent roll. She likes to roll on her back. She likes to roll in the cover hay. And when we've had some warm weather, we're seeing a lot more snow plows, pushing the snow, rolling in the snow, just overall great attitude about warm weather. And so that's kind of been the norm. And so when Denali started to not want to interact as much, retreat towards the upper part of the enclosure and just really not engage with the social group, we knew something was up. And he declined actually quite quickly. He went up towards the top of the enclosure, was lying down, did not want to interact. And here you're seeing Aiden and Bolts in a very social greeting. Aiden again likes that warmer weather and that snow stimulus of rolling on your back, and Bolt's wondering why is your dominant male rolling on his back like a tuna. But you can kind of get a glance of Denali up next to the slight den there. So what he did is, as his condition declined, he went farther and farther up the hill to the point where he was kind of isolating himself from everybody. So the problem is, how do you get a diagnosis? These are social pack animals, and you can see an animal that's weak gets the focus of the younger wolves. And so we had to be careful that we didn't let Denali decline, but we also had to be mindful that we can't just take him out of the pack structure, take him to the vet, and risk him not being allowed back in the pack. So there's some challenges in this. And so the one thing about a wolf is, when they're not feeling well, they're a little more tolerant of some things. And we actually did get a blood draw on Denali. The first blood sample wasn't the best, which is sometimes the problem. You're getting a diagnosis, you're getting a clean sample in a wolf pen, and then getting it down to the vet clinic. We had a little bit of an issue with the diagnosis where we thought he might have had some more problems with his blood work and with his platelets that may have been, a host of things, tick related, or, a possible autoimmune disorder. And then, so we started on a course of treatment, but we didn't feel very comfortable about the diagnosis. So after a couple of days of treatment, he was improving, but we decided to try to get another clean blood draw to make sure that we really knew what was going on. And lo and behold, the second blood draw, his blood platelets and his CBC blood count came back normal. So then we were more inclined to say, this isn't a bacterial issue. This isn't something that's related to his immune system. It's probably more like a viral condition. And last winter, both Shadow and Malik had kind of a viral vomiting, diarrhea, overall not feeling very well. So we were fortunate the rest of the pack seemed to occupy themselves with each other. And so Luna and Bolt and Aiden kind of were involved in a lot of interactions. But they did also sleep near Denali. When Denali was up on top of the hill, we bedded him down. We wanted him to be comfortable. But the other wolves seemed to stayed near him, and that was quite interesting. So again, that whole social relationship. Sometimes you have to be mindful that wolves can see weakness and take advantage of it. Other times you really see that social bond being a strong, strong part of their interactions. And there was many times when Bolts would approach Denali and be in a fairly submissive posture and not really causing too many issues. Luna was a little bit hard, and Luna and Aid both, and that's their role as the dominant pack members. They would stand over Denali, or they would maybe force him to submit to them. But we were definitely watching that, and we were trying to distract. And our first goal was to get a diagnosis. Our second goal was get Denali back up on his feet. And so that's what took me away from the YouTube last week. Obviously, whenever a wolf is sick, that becomes the number one priority for everything that goes on here. So, but he's on the mend. We're watching the other wolves. Any kind of signs of regurgitation, which again with wolves, you never know what they're getting into. I mean, they've got a lot of food resources. They've got a lot of old bones. They can consume things that make them a little bit uneasy in the stomach, and regurgitation is a natural way. They can consume some grass, and that's how they actually cleanse their stomach. So without knowing exactly what Denali had, we can say he's on the mend, and we are probably suspect of, again, just a little viral infection that he dealt with. So that's it for YouTube. And I do want to announce we do have a webinar tomorrow on January 29th at 3 p.m. If anyone's interested, the registration is still open on wolf.org under the Visit Programs tab, and it is going to be up until noon tomorrow, and then I'll come over and register people for the webinar. But it should be a fun one. It's a national puzzle day, January 29th, which I didn't know about. But we're going to do a couple of tests. We're going to talk a little bit about wolf problem solving. We're going to do a couple of tests. I'd originally intended to weave some birch baskets and see if the wolves could figure out how to get in them. Obviously, with the tasks I've had at hand lately, I didn't do a lot of weaving this week. So we're going to just try to hide some food resources, try to do a couple of bowl hiding things under bowls, and see if wolves can figure it out. So if you want to join us, please register at wolf.org. We'll see you next week. Thanks.